Okay, and hello and welcome to Asterix and in Switzerland this week. I'm Hisse, this is Godless Scummer, and we're going to take you on a bit of a journey, I think.
Indeed.
Yeah, fun one.
Hello, Ring.
Hi, Ring. So, yeah, to everyone who's watching, Ring, who else is in the chat? Just Ring at the moment. Anyone who's lurking or anyone who may watch in future, you are more than welcome. Hello to you. All the best to you. Right. Asterix in Switzerland.
Yeah, so what did you reckon to this one?
I like this one. This one is one of those that got me head scratching a little bit because, yeah, it's a bit dark for Asterix and Obelisk, but it's also a little bit wackier than usual as well.
Oh, it's out there, this one, yeah.
It does balance itself out a bit. It's a bit of a standout one, this one.
Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, and obviously one or two digs at the Swiss, but pretty light-hearted ones, you know, sort of little jabs at Swiss banks and Swiss cheese kind of thing, and cuckoo clocks and stuff. So nothing like, nothing really bad or bad natured about it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
cool.
You got the thing in the link, haven't you? So we can start.
I have, yeah. So when we are ready.
Cool. Okay. Just let me go to my Kindle window. Okay. So normally we start is quite peaceful in here, but we've got vital statistics is yelling at his shield bearers today.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's long overdue. How many times did he fall over in the last one?
Yeah, how many times they dropped him?
Yeah, so not the greatest.
So he's fired. So he starts off by firing his two shield bearers. I love this. I said, he's given us the sack. He was in a good mood this morning, and then he even said it was a nice day. So he leant over backwards to have a look at the sky. So then we straightened up. The chief wasn't on his shield.
No wonder they got fired.
And then so there comes on Asterix and Obelix. Asterix and Obelix, I'm gonna confer a great an honor on you. I appoint you my shield bearers. And they're like, what? Right?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
When did that happen? Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think Asterix is trying to point out there could be a slight problem here, that Obelix is a lot bigger than Asterix.
Yeah, I like this one because it was just such a sweet, amusing little start to it.
Everyone's kind of having a laugh at
so many puns. Yeah, proves what you can do if you've got the inclination.
Yeah. And he says, "Put me down. I have a suspicion people are laughing at us." And like I said, well, what if it was sort of suggested? What if Obelix carried you on his own? He's like, on his own, it is full. A chief must be served by two warriors. I'd feel like a half-point chief if
Yeah. And then this one, Chief flips his lid, which is just seriously. That feels a bit out of character to me for this chief, but we'll roll with it. Because it sets up this beautiful pun of Obelix is just serving up a half pint of mild and bitter.
Yeah, I like it.
I like it.
That's
An entire
clearly
page for one
that's
joke.
clearly an English joke. That one.
Yeah. Right. First comment of the day.
Here we go. Yep.
This top image. Let's see. The good humour prevailing in the Gaulish village is conspicuously absent from the palace of various flavours. The powerful Roman governor of Condatum.
Yeah, which
So
is
his guests are doing their best to have a good time.
that's current day rings. So
yeah, this image is quite a famous. Well, some of these images quite famous rip-offs. One of them. On this page, and it's supposed to be a Roman orgy, but now where's my banner gone? It's not what you think.
Mm-hmm.
The scenes in this actually, there's a film called Satyricon, Fellini's Satyricon. Definitely an 18+ film. Do not recommend to children. But this is
not to be confused with the black metal band Satyricon, by the way. So
yeah. There were protests against this film. It was considered so, shall we say, debauched. I feel like debauched is a good word. And I'm just looking at it here. It's basically a lot of the images on this page are straight out of that film. Now, remember what we said. Roman orgies are not what you think they are. We said this in a previous one, and I'm going to reiterate it because, damn it, Jim, I'm a historian. Roman orgies are essentially the Roman answer to the French salon, or the French salons are the answer to the Roman orgies, if you like. The coffee houses in England, they're very much, even to some extent, you could probably argue the taverns in pre-Civil War America. There were places for people to get together, eat, drink, discuss the news of the day, the gossip of the day. High art, there would be performances, things would. It was not what we think of when we think the word orgy.
Yeah, which is sort of, obviously what's implied here is very much, pure out debauchery here.
This is very much Fellini's style of orgy.
I mean, obviously this is a kid's book. They're not going to quite show sort of sex scenes, but there's things sort of implied, shall we say?
Yeah.
You got a woman with
dancing girls.
Woman with dancing girls, and in the top panel you got a woman with a whip there and with a guy. So there's a lot. There's some implication there.
And the thing about the Romans as well, they actually valued moderation. It was considered a Roman virtue not to overeat, not to be huge and like that, which is just, even.
Well, I mean, the guy who you can see has clearly been over living.
Yeah, that's to put it mildly, I think. But that whole thing, he would not have been considered any sort of virtuous character in Rome. Which brings us on to the next page.
Yeah, I mean, which is kind of like, because he's actually not a virtuous guy. So I like this. Ave callus eucalyptus. I like that name. Things good. So he's just brought in the taxes. He says, "Excellent. Now to share it out." So he hands a handful to his collector there. Yeah, his henchman, shall we say?
Yeah.
Pours the rest of it into it. That's for me, and 3 coins there. That's for Rome. And the implication here that he's is saying, "Do you not think sooner or later Rome's going to realise how much little money comes from this?" And he said, "My appointment here is for a year. I have 1 year to get rich, and I'll be far away by the time Rome can act far away and rich." Now, we should go into this a bit because there's an element of truth to this.
Yeah, there is a bit of an element of truth because the way the Roman taxation system worked, they pretty much left it up to the governors of the provinces, and there was a lot of corruption. And the way a lot of the provincial governors would sort of collect taxes, tax collectors in the local area, they would calculate sort of how much taxes you can expect, or the Roman central body would calculate how much taxes can be collected.
Mm-hmm.
Then the tax collectors would come along and say, right, well, for every, 100 that Rome says you can get, I can get you 60. Then the next one comes and says 70, 80, 90. And eventually some smart aleck comes along and says, but you see, if Rome says you can collect 100, I say you can collect 110. Then the next one, 120. Then the next one, and on it goes until you're collecting 3 times as much taxes as Rome wants you to collect. And you're pocketing the difference. The tax collectors are pocketing the difference.
Yeah, I mean, this was...
And paying off the governors.
This was quite... this was quite common. This was... and, it was almost sort of somewhat expected for Roman governors to enrich themselves. So they usually did have a term of a year to go as a governor.
Yeah.
Generally, I mean, not always, but I said generally they kind of came from the sort of senator type class, or they were high, maybe been high ranking like army officers or something. But generally, a lot of them it was they go to a governorship somewhere. It would generally funds them either making a return to the Senate or getting into the political ambitions were. I mean, I think one of the perhaps most famous examples of someone who perhaps was known as a bit of a more honest one who didn't really enrich himself was Vespasian when he was a governor, and he actually later did become an emperor.
Yeah. So a lot of it as well, in order to run for something like high office in Rome after you've been a governor, to continue on to the next step of the cultus deorum, you needed money. Because if you're running for election, you're trying to win over the mob in Rome. And as bad as it sounds to us from a modern point of view, the way you win over the mob in Rome is by putting on games and giving out free food.
Yep.
And you'd need to be able to pay for that because no one's doing it on credit. I say no one's doing it on credit. Julius Caesar did it the first time on credit, and he was very lucky he won. Otherwise, he'd have been absolutely destroyed.
Generally, it was expected to come from the emperor's own pocket.
Yeah, no. And senators and things, they would vie for the love of the mob, as it were, by putting on these elaborate games. And a lot of it was, it came out of the pocket of the person who put them on. That's why even like one huge example, the Colosseum was built out of the pocket of the Flavians.
Yeah,
because it wasn't built from taxation or anything. It was their money. That's why their name was put on it, and it was a gift to the people of Rome. Now we know how long the Flavians lasted because they gave the people of Rome entertainment.
Well, did they have they had 3 emperors, didn't they? The Flavian dynasty, I think.
Something like that.
I think it was Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. So it was Vespasian and his 2 sons, but they were like, I suppose, for only 3 emperors, they're very successful sort of dynasty and what they accomplished. I think Domitian's kind of where it went off. He was the one who kind of went off the rails a bit. But,
there's always one. There's always one in every dynasty. Don't worry about it. So, it's one of those with Roman dynasties. So Nero, basically, they're the ones who came straight after Nero. Now, Nero did... Say what you want about Nero. He did a lot for Rome in the aftermath of the fire. The problem was he didn't use his own money to do it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the point. The Flavians came along and spent their own money on the Colosseum. Nero came along and built himself a golden palace off the taxes of the poor, who just had their homes and livelihoods destroyed.
And more to the point as well, not just the poor, but the taxes of the rich as well. So say some of the people who write history.
Yeah.
So Nero was, so he actually, Nero was a bit of a weird one because I think he tended to he really irritated the sort of like senator type class more than anyone else, actually.
He irritated the upper classes because he wasn't a traditional emperor at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think, looking at it from what I know of him, I don't think he ever really wanted to be emperor. He was, as his supposedly famous last words go, what an artist dies in him. He didn't want to be, he wanted the means of being an emperor and the money attached, but he didn't really want to deal with it because he liked his music, his acting, his artwork.
Well, I think I think in a lot of ways he was a pawn of his mother's game, Agrippina, who wanted to sort of rule from behind the scenes, sort of thing. And that didn't. Although Nero did put an end to that. But yeah, obviously he got very and ended up sort of purging some people who were great allies of his, like Seneca, for example. He's sort of tutor.
Yeah, I think he didn't know which way to go for a while, didn't he? Didn't know who was loyal to him and who wasn't. Although I do say he loved his music and his arts. He was not fiddling while Rome burned. At least not while looking out on Rome.
Anyway,
should we get in Rome?
We've taken a nice detour there. I think we need to kind of get back to this. But there's just say that there is some historical truth in this thing of taxations. I
mean, as with anything, it carried on. That kind of thing happened in Britain in the Middle Ages as well. So
it's not. But they got a little bit of a problem there, and it's just an actual tax collector. Someone coming to audit the books, shall we say, has turned up from Rome.
Yeah.
And
Morfellini.
Yeah.
I do like the very, because this is sort of Fellini style in the film of it's almost hellish, the way it's shown, and this with the smoke and the red hues is that's definitely what that's ripping off. So
we've got this what's his I can't. What's his
vexatious
Sinistus? Yeah, I guess a quest order. That's a title. I'm guessing, not a name.
Yeah.
And he's been sent by Caesar from Rome and for audit he's here to audit the accounts. I'm here to audit. He's basically very clear, like because the first tongue of this the governor here is he's trying to sort of corrupt him and like, hey, he's trying to sort of sweeten him up and like bring him in, hey, have a bit of fun with us, sort of like. And he's like, no, I'm here to audit the accounts, not take part in orgies. Of course, friends, so, he says, open the windows by the gods,
Yeah, so quite clearly the smell.
So he's sort of here. He said, he's offering, so he's offering him some really rich food here as well, like boar's tripe deep fried, And
I do like the little reference to the pirates here. They were arguing with themselves and scuttled their own ship.
Yeah, I'm tired. I had a long journey. We were even attacked by pirates on the crossing. Luckily, they started arguing with each other and scuttled their own ship. I like that little
Yeah.
And he just asked, look, just humble bowl of vegetable soup, and I'm going to turn in for the night.
Yeah.
So he goes to cook sort of to make that. However, the governor here has decided he doesn't want this tax collector looking too closely into his corruption. And you see that he's taking some stuff out of his rings there and putting it into there. He's going to poison the guy, basically. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's the classic poison ring, isn't it? You've seen it a few times. There's a lot in art and in media about poison being a sort of a woman's murder weapon as well, which kind of plays into the whole idea of this character not being virtuous, because the opposite of virtus, which is more closely translates to manliness than virtue in English.
Yeah.
But the opposite of that, of course, is femininity. So it plays into that whole thing of this guy is about as un-Roman as you can get.
So, hello, by the way. Hello, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
I don't think I've seen you in one of these before. Have I, Linda? Maybe once or twice, but... but okay, so... He has his soup. He's been woken up or the tax collector's been taken ill. He says, I feel terrible, but I think I will live by Jupiter. So it must have been the vegetable soup. The ingredients, I'll have to cook whip. So he says, leave the cook alone. Send it for the doctors. Now, his henchmen there saying, aren't you afraid of the doctor spoiling your plans? And he's like, no, I know the doctors in this garrison. Basically, I've got the doctors in my pocket as well. And you get a lot of them coming in here, all giving, shall we say, various
pretending incompetence, I think.
Yeah.
Incompetence.
Or they genuinely are incompetent. But let's just say they're about to they're arguing one another about their qualifications, and then obviously start. Well, what should we do? Well, we need to bleed him. His arteries need air to breathe. We've got to bleed it. I know a good thing. Mix up some ground ivory with tortoise and pigeon blood if the patient lives in.
They're just all daft. They're more medieval than anything else. These, because the Romans, believe it or not, were actually fairly advanced medicinally.
Oh yeah,
a lot of the information was lost.
I mean,
we're only finding now.
A lot of it, though. I mean, a lot of it was obviously built upon the Greeks, and I think perhaps some of the people that did keep this knowledge going were the early Muslims who they took a lot of the sort of classical works and
I mean, we're talking
them into Arabic, but
pretty much because a lot of classical works we only know are there because they were translated into Arabic. Like a lot of Aristotle and stuff we wouldn't have if it wasn't for the sort of Muslims in that region.
I was just going to say, to give one example, I mean, like in the ancient world, they knew how to remove cataracts in the eyes, for example.
One of our best sources for that, actually, which is what I was getting onto, is Galen, whose theories of medicine seem a bit weird to us, for humors and all the rest of it, but were pretty much the dominant medical sort of understanding until germ theory in the 18th century. There was he was, that is, if you look at those books or those translations that you can find online, they're very similar to sort of 18th century medicine until pretty much penicillin. And there was very little movement in that time. Obviously, we had the Dark Ages in between, which didn't help matters. But this stuff is not as ancient as you would think it is.
No.
And to be fair, a lot of it worked. I mean, not like the pig's entrails and all the rest of it, but the stuff in Galen that we're finding scientific evidence to corroborate now. Galen was couple of thousand years ago, Galen was calling for, treatments using breast milk. And we're only now finding out the medical implications of colostrum, which is in breast milk. I think I pronounced that right. and he knew that was that. He didn't know why it worked. He didn't know what part of the breast milk worked, but he knew something about it worked.
I think he knew. Yeah, that could be said a lot of things. He knew certain things worked. Didn't necessarily have the scientific understanding of why. But they're coming up with all these quack cures for this poor guy here, and he just said, and he just sort of says, "Let me speak," and he says, "I should like you to sacrifice," and he's like, "This, I'd like you to sacrifice to Apollo the god of healing, on my behalf." And
again, sacrifices to gods, very much.
Yeah.
Apollo though is more plagues and things than standard healing.
Yeah.
So maybe he thinks he's caught something. But yeah.
Well, so he says. Actually, he says he's a splendid. We'll offer Apollo these dishes and whatever. And I love there's a little bit of the recurring joke here with honey when he goes through all these like really exotic dishes here, like bear black pudding and stuffed giraffe's neck. I think Oh, and now he says, "Do you think the sacrifice will be enough to cure them?" And he just says, "No, that was a preset text to get rid of these idiots." So he's got this Roman soldier on board, and he says, in his epileptic fits, Julius Caesar often mentions a little Gaulish village not far from here. There's a druid in the village. I think his name's Geometrix, and then the Roman soldiers, no, Getafix. That's right. He says, "Can you go and look? Yeah, basically go and look him up here and
bring him back."
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, of course, they've decided they're going to take what's supposed to be sacrifice to Apollo and gorge themselves.
Yeah.
This last panel irritates me slightly. Because the gods did not take the choice cuts. The gods did not take more than any more than people could afford. There was never any indication. Like even this thing of people seem to think that the Romans and the Greeks would be sacrificing animals left, right, and center or anything like that. The average Roman on the street, the average Greek on the street could not afford that. They'd buy a little votive thing, like a little ceramic ornament, if you like, of what the animal was, and leave it at the temple.
Or a lot of times, even if it's food, it might have been a bit of bread or something.
Yeah,
leave out as an offering.
Bread, burn bay leaves, incense was a fairly big one once it started coming in. So, and this whole thing of, I will say, the Romans and Greeks were never once for human sacrifice.
No,
you can go back to the Numa tradition in Rome, which is very early Rome, and it was outlawed. So it may have been done before by the Etruscans, we don't know. But if you look at the Numa traditions, it was specifically outlawed, which makes me think it probably happened once or twice, enough for it to be an issue, but not after that. It was just, they were as horrified by the idea of that as we are.
So, yeah. Oh, Morton and Linda here as well. So that's cool.
Cool.
Now we've got we get to the next morning in the village. You got this Roman who's turned up. He says, "Your master's ill. He needs me. Tell him I'm on my way." And I love this. Asterix. We're off to drop everything at once. Remember. And Gedevik said there, it's kind of like he's sort of implying that, like, the Druids have something similar to the Hippocratic Oath here. That he says, "I'm always bound to help sick people, even Romans." And Obelix is like, "I don't like Romans to be ill. It makes them softer than usual."
Yeah. So, I do wonder though, if the Romans know Getafix is bound by that particular code of honor, otherwise they'd have been knocking on his door for headache cures.
Yeah. I think it was. I mean, to be honest, I think you don't know. I mean, it may have just been an act of desperation, really, for this guy to reach out, and because he knows they're trying to kill him. I mean, which is where it's a bit darker in sense than a lot of that, because we are dealing with an attempted murder here that's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, and the plot's a bit convoluted. I mean, we're in it, and we've not even really started on the main plot yet.
I know.
And it's, we're 14 pages in,
Yeah.
and these books normally average somewhere between sort of 40 to sort
Yeah.
of 50 to 80 pages.
Yeah.
So
So we get through this here, and they're like, they're all passed out because they gorged themselves again, and he gets a notice that some ghouls have broken into the palace. They brought a druid, and he's like, oh dear, and he's looking at he's giving them looking at, and
how many X's are in that?
oh
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
yeah,
or 4.
there's a lot of X's.
Yeah.
And he brings anxious that he brings the Rome. He's brought the ghouls in, and he's like, so I'm the governor of these parts. I'll have you hounded out of this place, and you know how this is going to end.
Of course, yeah.
And the problem is some of his bad habits seem to have rubbed off on his legionaries as well. They've all been drinking too much and overeating as well.
Yeah. Let's see. So
yeah. So I'll just move over pages. So it says now he said I says you're very ill. This is the only thing that might save you is a potion of which I happen to know something of a secret about. He says, unfortunately, the essential ingredient is this potion is something called Silver Star, which is what's that? I can't read.
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss, yeah.
Which I only know how to pronounce because of the Sound of Music. I will say that outright.
Okay, it's a small flower that grows on the highest mountains, very difficult to get hold of. And he's like, I'll send some of my men to go and look for it. He's like, he said, well, Obelix, I like the fact, well, they're not well. And Mountain area, and they're like, no, Getafix is going to send Asterix and Obelix off to find this, and he's also what's it he said? He goes on to say here. He says, I love the fact that Asterix saying, oh, it's been a little some time since we took a trip abroad. I like this. So they got to go to Helvetia, which is Switzerland.
Yeah.
And
then the druid pulls a blinder.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's taken one look at this, figured out what's gone on, and says, right, I'm taking the sick man hostage.
Yeah.
Which is just brilliant.
Yeah. Basically, he's basically saying to this governor here, if my friends don't come back, the hostage will be executed.
Yeah.
So even though he obviously is putting Asterix and Obelix in danger, he knows full well they can handle it.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, oh, it's like this get the druid here might take care of my problem for it. And so so he gets rid of him, and then Getafix knows what's going on. He says, this man has been poisoned. If he stays here, he wouldn't give two denarii
his chances of surviving.
Yeah. And he'd be safer from his would-be murderers in our village. So,
yeah.
And but I can't keep him alive very long. You must leave at once to hurry up. So I'll say goodbye to the others, saw you. And he's obviously look after dogmatics. Obelix is. That's the one thing, we don't have any dogmatics in this book. That's the one downside. No puppy.
But so I mean, we're finally on the way to Switzerland now.
So so that they said so he's obviously saying, I don't want those ghouls coming back from Helvetia, so I want he sends his man off to notify this governor, Curious Odious, old friend of his from Geneva, who's governor there.
These little yellow boxes here amuse me so much the way it's written. And so that same night, a chariot leaves Condatum for the little Gaulish village. A messenger leaves for Geneva, and a Gaulish warrior, accompanied by a many delivering man, goes in search of a little flower over the hills and far away.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fairy story. I love it.
And it gets so I love this. I love the fact we get to like a service station here. Nice roast boar there for Obelix. So, oh, by the way, actually, I was saying to Linda in the chat there. I actually bought this on the Kindle. I've read most of the comics themselves, so. But this is what we're kind of going through. I mean, we're doing this on the Kindle edition because I'm running out of room for comic books, and both of us, and it takes a lot of effort for Hissy to like scan in pages as well when she was buying them. So we just thought we're gonna do the Kindles from now on. It's
easier. I like this, the Chariotel, which is quite obviously the answer to the motel.
Yeah. Which, I mean, motels are a bit of a thing. You don't really see motels as such in England. I mean, I suppose you got the travel.
We have B&Bs and the travel lodge, but we don't really have motels.
But obviously, France, Switzerland, and that they're very more they're way more prominent sort of things.
Yeah.
And
cauldron of melted cheese.
Yeah. So this is in Switzerland, and so this is the governor here in Switzerland, and it just seems to be just as corrupt and.
To me, that is. I'm trying to think of how to word my opinion on this particular party game they're playing. Without triggering the algorithm. But frankly, it makes you wonder if they've all got safe words.
That should be explanatory enough. They're playing some very weird little game with and okay, they seem to be making something that resembles cheap fondue or something. So so meanwhile they've stopped at the service station getting a chariot fixed because of a broken wheel, and they're getting towards the border with Helvetia.
I like this joke at the top of this page. I've actually got a different version than you've got on screen there, because the joke doesn't make sense in your version, but in mine, let me see if I can show you on screen. If you have a look.
I can't see. I can't. Do you want to put yourself full screen, Hissy?
I can't because it's on my phone.
No, I mean your StreamYard. Your StreamYards, I mean.
Yeah. So if you have a look here.
But bit more. That's more. Now that makes it more sensible. Yeah.
Yeah. So we all know that this is the Michelin Man who he's speaking to, which makes the next joke much more clearly a joke, which he's kind of missed in your version, I think, Jeff.
Yeah.
So, but that's a sweet little.
Now, I wonder. I'm kind of wondering why it's been changed or how it was changed. I'm wondering if Michelin got a bit funny about it or something. I don't know. But...
Nah, I don't think so. I think because I did look this up. Where is it?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Well, they're definitely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you got the. Well, I say. Meanwhile, you got the messenger here.
So that character who was there is Anta, the French service station company. It's their mascot.
Yeah.
But the joke doesn't really
Doesn't
translate when you use the Michelin.
Yeah.
When you don't use the Michelin, but they changed it back to the French.
Let's be honest, the Michelin man's far more recognisable, wasn't he?
Yeah, far more. Yeah. But that's that one. And this, I just, what a waste of good cheese.
Yeah, and this is significant. They're clearly playing an interesting game there. We'll say that. So he's being warned about these two ghouls coming over, and this is weird. I mean, this is weird how this thing is going on here. That they're now gonna like throw him in the lake with weights tied to his feet, and I'm like, okay, I don't like to kink shame, but that's a hard limit, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's a hard limit for me, I think.
And I love this little one at the border here.
The little border post.
I love this. What do we do here, Asterix? These are just formalities we go through. Reasons. Just the usual stuff you go through at customs. And so he lets them pass, and then immediately halts them on the other side, saying, "You're right for us to leave Gaul, but administrative decisions taken on the other side of the border are none of my business."
Yeah.
Anyone ever been into Switzerland from France? I don't know, but I have been. It's kind of interesting like this, that there is a bit of a formality at the border where there's almost like a little zone between the two checkpoints that you go in, or at least there used to be. I haven't been. It's been a long time since I've.
Yeah, I think it's because Switzerland. It's part of the EEA, but not part of the EE. Not part of the EU.
It's never been part of the EU.
Yeah. So technically, they're surrounded on all sides by countries that are involved in the Schengen Agreement, but they don't technically have to honour it.
Yeah.
I don't think they signed up for it. So, it's an interesting one. Maybe that's what it'll be like coming home from Europe on holidays in a few years.
May very well be. So they get. So it's funny they didn't get So then they get stopped on the other side of the border here, and then see, and I love this. You ought to have declared. I love this. Where did you get your clothes and weapons? He said, from a village in Gaul. So, well, you ought to have declared them smuggling your pee for it out now, then. And so Asterix has a little sip of the old magic potion, so you know what's about to happen to him. Roman gets bang. Two of the Romans there, and where are the others going? They turn their back. He says, I think they got big problems going on back there in Helvetia. Says, well, it's about their turn.
Yeah.
Basically, they're not there. It's like, we're staying this side of the border and pretending we don't have any fucking clue what's going on over there.
Yes, it is. And now you know. Helvetica, I think, is the font.
Yeah.
So off they go, and
I did love this though. That whole thing with them. I love this again here. First of all, there's this thing where they're searching for the sort of wheat fields and can't find them. And again, the scenery's here. I'm gonna
very, very beautiful.
I'm gonna zoom in on this. This is what Albert Uderzo does really well as an artist. And yeah, in landscapes he draws are really spectacular.
Yeah, And again, I've never been to Switzerland. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't somewhat accurate.
Yeah,
He does have that habit, doesn't he?
I'm not quite sure what town it's supposed to be. I've sort of been through Switzerland couple of times, and never really been, never really explored it. But I have been through Switzerland. So they're going to sort of swim across the river here, and just they meet this weird little guy here, who's the guy who's been from. It turns out, is down there. He's with weights tied to him. He's the blooming Roman from the orgy that's going on, and he says, "Right, I'll go back to get some dry clothes and go back to the orgy. What fun!"
Yeah. Again, I've said my piece on that. Let's move on. There is a little comment here that I want to address that's passed by the hotel order.
Okay.
The barbarians didn't want their room. It was too clean for them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a bit of a jab going on there. There is clean and then there is clean. And it just, that felt a bit unnecessary when I was reading that.
Yeah.
But that's my comment.
I like the fact they got this there holding the ICTC, the International Conference of Tribal Chieftains in Geneva. I like that.
Yeah.
But there you go. So he suddenly realised that he suddenly realised that they've run into these ghouls. You know, he was about to continue with this game that he was going. So I like, and here we go. I think the hourglass is very good here in Helvetia, but you have to watch it. It says, "Whenever I shout cuckoo, it's time for all the hourglasses to be turned."
Yeah, the Swiss and their cuckoo clocks.
Yeah.
That one's fun. I like that one.
Harmless one. Pretty harmless.
Yeah, fairly harmless. And it makes sense. If it's an hourglass, you would turn it.
So Romans come in here, and he's sort of saying, "Look, we don't have any vacancies." But they asked him if we have some ghouls, and he said, "No, we've got a few Iberians, a few Britons, just quite, all quite, What about all these muddy footprints here?" And he's like, "Oh, well, just my shoes, In fairness to him, he doesn't sell Asterix and Obelix out. He's quite easily done that. But he does go. He goes and warns them. Look, wake up, come and hide. I'm going to hide you. And he shouts, "Look at that, cuckoo!"
Yeah. This one's fun. I think that's also. I mean, that comment from the hotelier, I think, maybe a little bit of a dig at Swiss neutrality.
Yeah. But you love the fact that it takes a Zurich's bank.
Zurich's bank, yeah.
Yeah. Romans are after. So the Romans are after these two men. He said, "You keep them safe." And he said, "Like, well, obviously, yeah, of course he can keep them safe. He's a bank. He's got safes." So some pretty obvious sort of jabs at Swiss banks here, I think.
Yeah, this is actually, if anyone's ever seen the Tom Hanks film with the Dan Brown book,
the Da Vinci
that's
Code.
the one.
Yeah,
the Swiss bank they go to is highly reminiscent of this. I think it might even be sort of a point at the same one that, you have your safety deposit box. No one sees into it. You're the only one who can get into it.
Well, yeah, I mean the Swiss banks. I mean they got very big after the war, but they were known for as you say, not asking too many questions. You know, so they do have that reputation.
And then just the legalese at the bottom. I love this. The legalese of them. So they're in the safe. They climb in. And regulations about opening a safe on someone else's behalf.
Yeah.
You must give him power of attorney.
Yeah, I love it.
It just, yeah. As someone who works in banking, it really is that. Yeah, I don't envy the poor people who have to deal with it, but it's there's just no scope for anyone else to access your accounts.
And the fact that he is that they broke Obelix broke the door over, just like this safe open. So
yeah,
look, I need some food, and he brings them some cheese. How terrible! A safe without a door. You know, you can't believe it here. He says you can get in. So he gets them into another one. He says, "Whose safe is it?" I don't know. I just get in there quick. He says, and I love the fact he says, "Asterix." I think I can guess the customer's nationality.
Yeah,
very clearly.
Yeah,
and cut up the cheese off. And I just love this. Asterix, I'm just going to ask Xerix, has he got any cheese without holes in it? So, yeah, so there we go. We got the Swiss banks, the cuckoo clocks, and the cheese jokes now.
Yeah, the cheese jokes is one of those. Wasn't there a thing about Swiss cheese when they made it? They could deposit it in a cheese bank. And I'm scraping the dredges of old QI episodes here, so
yeah, I have no idea. In all honesty,
like Parmesan or something, wasn't it?
And the funny thing here is that you've got this centurion coming in looking for them. He says, "Oh, you know, he sees the broken door in one of the safes here, and this guy's in a bit of a weird position now, because it turns out that this particular Roman has got a safe deposit box in this place, and he's having to trying to say he's got a break in. Is that what you call as safe as the Bank of Britain?" I love that. I've got a safe here myself, you know. I love that.
And then actually, it turns out the safe in question is the one where I think Asterix got his guess wrong about the nationality of the owner.
Looks like it.
But there is a sort of standing joke that actually there's a lot of looted, stolen, priceless artifacts in Swiss banks.
Yes. We know what a lot of stuff that happened during the Second World War and stuff as well.
Yeah, a lot of the artwork that was stolen is in Swiss banks. The gold as well. There's quite a lot of gold down there.
There was some, without getting too into it, but certainly there's the obvious sort of stories of, should we say, former high-ranking members of the Third Reich or whatever having Swiss bank account, which, you know, is well sort of documented. But what is perhaps less documented is that a lot of the sort of victims of, say, the Holocaust or whatever, did deposit their savings into Swiss banks to keep it away from, and then it was then, of course, relatives so a lot of them were, should we say, a lot of it was not able to be claimed back after the war.
Yeah,
for fairly obvious reasons.
Yeah, because Swiss bank accounts don't, you don't inherit them unless they're actually actively willed to someone. You don't inherit them. Yeah. And frankly, the Jews and the others who would have made those deposits weren't
Yeah.
even sure they were going to have descendants.
And let's be honest, a lot of some of the people who were, you know, descendants or so of survive, you know, a lot of descendants and survivors who say couldn't get access to their relatives' money afterwards, because it ended up being a whole number of legal cases about this.
Yeah.
With against Swiss banks for this.
Mm.
And I still think the Swiss banks have come out very much ahead on this. But anyway, that was a little bit of more of a morbid direction, but just thought it was worth kind of mentioning about.
Yeah,
Really.
worth bringing up that actually. And that's the thing with this story, as we were saying earlier, it's quite dark in a lot of ways, and a lot of the things it makes reference to. So
I mean, he says like he wants to. He says get them out of it. They put dishonor on my name. They made me lie about the security of my establishment.
yeah,
I love this. It's enough to make you want to become neutral. Well, there'd have to be a neutrality joke in here somewhere, wouldn't there?
There's got to be neutrality jokes in there.
So he said he's bought them some disguises, which are basically, they're not really disguises, they're just bows and arrows.
Yeah.
Carrying those weapons will make you look like Helvetians. So going to their annual camp every year. So yeah, a bit of sort of jokes about
yeah, military service for nonners and accountants.
Yeah. Which national service is still a thing in Switzerland.
It is, isn't it?
It is. Well, actually, if people ever go to the Vatican, there are the famous
the Swiss guards. Yeah.
Now they are generally all, more or less, most of them are young lads who are on their national service in Switzerland for like what I think they got like 2-year national services.
Yeah.
So like the Papal Swiss Guard, for example, are generally Swiss national servicemen.
Yeah, and they're the poor sods who get dressed up like a traffic light. And that's putting it mildly. Their uniform design is.
It's for show. It's not really for.
Yeah,
I
do feel like the designer had a bit of a sense of humor.
I should actually point out that it's a bit like that. Although there's they've got medieval outfits, they are actually still very much a professional security force though, and there's probably ones you don't realise, the Swiss guards about there that might be in suits or whatever, that are more like your.
Their regular duty service dresses, it looks more like a plumber's overalls than anything else.
Yeah, so
but the Swiss guards, I mean, they're nice enough. Most of them don't speak English and won't speak to you very much. But I got lost at the Vatican at one point; it'd be in the right direction, so they're all right, friendly enough. But again, they're trained military personnel, so don't laugh too loudly.
Yeah, they're a bit different. I mean, a little bit different from, say, the yeoman warders at the Tower of London, who are kind of are, in a way, although they are, somewhat of a military service, they are a little bit more of a tourist. They are there for the tourists as well.
Yeah, I think
what they tend to be made up of is from sort of ex-army people, or ex-servicemen. No, that's the big difference between, say, yeoman warders at the Tower of London and, say, the Swiss guards.
Yeah, because I was going to say at the Tower of London. Sorry, the guards outside Buckingham Palace are not. They are active duty personnel.
They're regular, yeah.
They're army. They're technically the army.
Yeah, and like so I said, yeoman warders at the Tower of London. Most of them are ex-army or whatever, and so, or most of them have actually been ex-NCOs, as far as I know.
Yeah.
although they do serve the function as sort of like tourist guides.
Yeah.
And doing the ceremonial sort of duties that they are also technically are the security for the Tower of
Yeah,
London.
because there is a yeoman whose entire job is to breed crows.
Yeah,
There's a
breed
documentary
ravens,
on it on Channel 4 or Channel 5 a couple of years.
yeah.
I think last year.
The Tower Ravens, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've taken a bit of a detour there.
Yeah.
So they're going through the town here, and they get pointed out there by the Roman who's seen them, and then I love this. They run into this building here. Oh, I love this. The
United Tribes building.
Yeah, I love it.
International Conference of Tribal Chiefs.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Yeah.
And again, lovely build. Lovely build. Drawing the buildings there, but
and this interior as well.
Yeah, but I love the fact they're saying you got this chieftain up here. Honestly, I think we can coexist with the Romans. And all we need is a little goodwill on both sides and respect for individual liberty, and let's split up and imitate the others. And it's like, how do you do that? Like, pretend to be asleep, because
and Obelix is confused at the idea of Romans wanting peace.
Yeah. What?
I strongly recommend if you just to have a look at some clips of the EU assembly on YouTube to really get the joke for this, I think.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they seem to be they're spotted, and as they're going on peace possible. I love the fact that suddenly the hotelier has to shout because it's the hour mark. Cuckoo.
Yeah.
They're liking this cuckoo clock joke, aren't they?
Yeah, they do. They're kind of beating a dead horse with this one, I think.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And as they jump into the lake, and they're going to swim across there. And then I love to say, right, take a rider jet, what with our breastplates and our helmets on and all that. It says, I don't mind getting wet, but if it's like 3 hours since we've finished our dinner.
Yeah.
And undress your weapons and what's the Latin there, Hissy?
Nunc est bibendum. I'm trying to mentally translate it. It's not working. Hold on, let me Google it.
Actually, I only sort of say something about that because the word bibendum actually.
Yeah, now is the time for drinking.
Yeah, but I don't know if you know.
Ode to Cleopatra.
But I don't know if you know that bibendum is actually the name of the Michelin Man as well. So something that was little.
Yeah.
So. And it looks more like they're going for a little women's, I'm floating, of course. That's all I can do. I trained for the infantry, didn't I?
Yeah. So.
Right. I'm not a frogman. I'm not a blue.
Let me just hop in. Yes, you can. If you have Kindle Unlimited, I get them. You can get them on Kindle Unlimited one at a time. And read them. They appear to be photocopies of the originals. Those are the ones I read, and so far I've not had one. Sometimes you can also see them quite cheaply on Google Books.
Yeah.
For the ebook. I think the ebooks only
Google Play Books.
I think the ebooks are they're no more than £4 each on Google.
Yeah, I don't know what £4 translates into in Danish kroner, but
I'm not sure what it translates to in kroner. Probably works out about $5 at the minute.
Yeah.
So
So
Lots of water puns.
Yeah, and they get on this boat here to go to the other side. They just, there's a lot of silly water puns here, I think. And I love this the yodelers now. The yodel lady.
Yeah, and the comment from Asterix: "We've got a bard at home who sings a bit like that."
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
Come back up here immediately. So they follow. So the Romans trying to follow this boat, and they get into the other side. Here we are, friends. So yeah, a lot of the yodeling going on here. Oh, I love this. And I love the fact they're shouting, "What a beautiful country, so happy and peaceful. Yes, we all live in harmony here."
Yeah.
And he says, I must leave. I've got to get back to my hotel. I'm already several cuckoos late."
Yeah.
And then we're going out. We're going in. They're doing like a little target practice here. So you can eat your apple later. It's time for your Swiss roll and target. Hold up a target. So he's got his apple. Says, after you, visitors shoot first. So Asterix is about to. He's the poor lad's holding up the target, and he's placed the apple on his head. And Obelix sneezes behind it. Obelix, you nearly caused an accident. He says, and it turns out it's a little bullseye, but the kid's still got his apple. I love this. Very good shot, but I feel let down somehow. Do you want to explain this one here? I mean, if people don't know this already.
Yeah, I'll let you explain this one.
Anyone who's familiar with the story of William Tell?
Yeah.
Famous story of them shooting an apple off of an arrow off the top of someone's head.
Yeah. So it's a folk tale.
It's Willie. I mean, most people, I'm sure, know who William Tell is. Know that story. Kind of think of it as like a Swiss Robin Hood, I suppose, is the best.
Yeah, probably the closest you get to it. So they've invited him for sports, and now they get food.
Yeah, and it's just, they're getting melted cheese or whatever, like fondue, and he's like, and Obelix. I love that Obelix is getting impatient here, so he downs the melted cheese. Right, now let's go drink, because he wants to get on with this, and just then decides to drink something that's very alcoholic, and boom, Obelix is out for the count.
Yeah. I do like this thing with the Swiss and the French here. It takes us hours to do what only takes you seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there are hundreds of Romans crossing the lake, and I must go and find some silver star before he gets there. So some of you will have. So they're gonna go up the mountains, and he also leaves them these the Swiss there a few little bit drops of magic potions put in their cauldron here for help them see off the Romans. But they got a problem here. It's getting Obelix. He looks messy and untidy. I think there's a sort of thing. I think this must be some sort of thing about the Swiss being very clean or something. This seems to be a running joke here. Or bring along rope. We'll tie ourselves. They're going up the mountains here, and they've got to drag Obelix up there.
This, of course, is designed to look like we all know what this technique is, and apparently Asterix pioneered it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I love this bit. You got these Romans who come off the boats here. It's not bad. So they're having magic fondue here because he's put a bit of potion.
mm.
And I love this. They start yodeling, and I love this. They've got elephants.
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot. They're singing, and I love this. You know, when I was posted in Gaul, I knew a bard that sung a bit like that.
Yeah.
By order of governor, but let us pass. No quarrels, you're no concern of ours. We want to remain neutral, but and he just gets told to, and of course the Helvetians just start bashing the hell out of the Romans because they're all on the magic potion. And I love this next thing that
the Red
guy,
Cross.
yeah, he knocks the guy out. He says, first you hit me, and then bandages. It's our vocation. We will look after all combatants, whatever their nationality.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of good little digs in here.
Yeah.
So Ring was saying about the elephant singer wasn't expecting a Hannibal choke.
Yeah.
So, and I love this. Look over there. The outlaws are climbing the mountain. Go after them with the. We go swimming in the lake, then we go climbing mountains. What do you expect? We're not on holiday, you know.
Mm.
And
then,
yeah, Obelix.
I've caught one.
I've caught one. I've caught one of them. No, you haven't. He's getting pulled up with them. He says, "Pull them down here." I'm trying to.
And poor Obelix sleeping through it all. Like, how strong was that wine?
Yeah. Well, he did down an entire barrel of it.
Yeah.
They get up there. 3 hours later, he's found the flower they're looking for. So Getafix can make this potion. Can't reach it. I need another sword. So anyone got a sword? So the poor Roman at the bottom here hands up his sword for them.
Yeah.
But Obelix, we've done it. He said, "Let's go," and he said, "Let's go on climbing near to the summit." And then he suddenly realizes he suddenly realizes they got a Roman with them. Yes, a Roman. So what? I've held your friend's hand all the way up. It's a dangerous climb. You're not going to make me trouble for me now, are you? And I love the way this is. He's saying to Asterix, "Yeah, you can get down this way. It leads straight back to your own country. The difficulty is that Obelix is still out, and I'll have to take him in tow." And so he's starting to tow Obelix down this mountain here, and then here we go. How the luge or the bobsleigh was invented, I think.
Yeah. Or at the very least, the sled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk Gold, a neighbour of Governor over here, sees his bang. All right now, Century. So they're tumbling down here all the way
into the
river, and that was just like, oh, we in the drink again. So it seems now the story fast forwards a few more days, and it seems that this horrible governor is Flavius. How is the unfortunate tax collector druid? So he's come to the village. He says, "I've managed to keep him going." He says, "What a pity that your men aren't back. You'll have to execute him after all. The hostages are hostages." And you hear that it's ready. Just add a few drops of magic potion. Give him some mixture to drink. I love this. What's ready?
Oof.
Oh dear, I'm ready. That's what. And comes out that keep calm. Bang. He says, when you come down, I shall check your accounts, and the next orgy you'll have is in the circus at Rome with your friends, Otis,
Curious Odus.
Furious Otis. So seems like seems like him and the Swiss governor are both for the high jump right now.
Yeah.
And I love this. You got look at these shield bearers as well, fully automatics and geriatrics.
Yeah.
And just
and
for
then
once, and I say just for once, the Roman is going to be allowed to be a guest at the village feast.
And poor Cacophonic still gets tied up.
Yeah.
I do like this comment from Obelix, though, because he slept through climbing the mountain. He thinks Switzerland's flat.
Yeah, I love that.
Which is it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. So there we go. There was, I'll just get rid of that from this stream. That was Asterix in Switzerland.
Yep.
So, fun one, I thought.
Fun one. Nice, simple storyline. I do like the idea. They seem to be getting more and more pally with the Romans.
With some of them, anyway.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's all, it's almost like they don't actually mind Romans. It's the whole being occupied that they've got a problem with.
Yeah. Who'd have thought it?
Who'd have thunk it, eh?
Yeah, it's very yeah, I mean, it's one of the things. This is the weird thing is they don't seem to hate the. I mean, Obelix doesn't even hate the Romans. It's to him beating them up's a bit of fun. He doesn't hate them.
Yeah, Obelix has got that kind of. It's almost like playtime with him, like giving a cat a toy mouse.
Yeah. Oh damn! Sorry, Jen. Yeah, we're almost done, Jen. Actually.
Almost done, Jen.
We just finished the book. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I like this one. Again, it's one of those that's it's light on the history, light on the philosophy, but still has enough to, I think, keep the adults interested.
Yeah, and I think we spent a lot of time just talking about really before we got into the main plot of this, which is them going to Switzerland, because there was a lot of historical stuff to be addressed there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole references to Fellini's Satyricon are very interesting, very well drawn. And that's what I've found Uderzo does very well in this, is makes references to other things.
Yeah.
Or, does things like that. And it's a fun little, it's almost, spot the reference. Which is always a bit of a laugh. Again, I every stream I seem to talk about him and his ability to draw landscapes.
Which is we bring this up a lot, but it is fantastic. His ability to draw landscapes is fantastic.
I mean, as much as I love Asterix and Obelix, and I am growing to love it, that man, I feel like he was wasted as a comic artist. Like, he should have been drawing landscapes to go up in galleries and things. And that's with all due respect to the medium of comic books. But he, he's very much, his art style is, it suits comic books as well, which is great. But you wonder, if he tried to do something a bit more.
I think he was as a young man, very inspired by Disney cartoons. I think that was a big.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously say, we know the problems with some of the caricatures that he draws that we've been in, which may be a good thing to say, that because the book we're going to cover next week, unfortunately, there's no avoiding it. I do remember this book, even though I've got to say it's one of my absolute favourites. We are doing The Mansions of the Gods next week.
Yeah,
which is a good book, but unfortunately there is a
central character who is Numidian, and therefore
and drawn in that way, and I can't avoid showing it this next week, but I will, so people have been, we just got to be
We will warn people at the start of the episode next week.
Yeah.
But
I might
just for
even
those who usually follow on.
I might even put a warning in the title because it'll be on my channel next week. So
yeah. But I think that's where we are for this. It's nice to see these characters growing a bit and sort of getting to the point where we are looking at really getting into the inside jokes, and we're learning more about the sort of tertiary characters as well.
Well, I think the fact that what we've seen over the last few books is that we've seen a lot of the sort of support characters get. We've seen a bit of development. We've seen development of Vital Statistics' wife in Pedimenta, for example. We've seen
Vital Statistics himself.
Yeah, fully automatics, unhygienics, geriatrics. You know, we're seeing those characters. Ring says something interesting. To be fair, detailed landscapes are a staple of European comics, but Uderzo did it better than most.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair cop.
Yeah.
European comics are a lot more, I think, visually.
Yeah.
Aesthetically pleasing than some of their American counterparts.
Yeah. So, so that's where we got to. That's Asterix in Switzerland. Next week we'll be doing Asterix at the Mansions of the Gods on my channel, which is actually one of my. It's despite the warnings again, it is still one of my favourite books of my childhood. Actually, So
it'd be interesting to see you go back and read that then.
Yeah, I mean this is the thing to me that obviously I've read most of it. I've read most of these books before, and it's interesting to see what sort of stands up and what doesn't stand up so well nowadays. So, which is very interesting, you know. And to you, this is like your first time reading through a lot of these, isn't it? So it's
I mean, I vaguely remember seeing the Asterix and Obelix cartoons as a kid. And I was aware that they were out there, but I was never big into comic books as a kid anyway. You know, it's very much a gendered thing. When I was in school and I was I was a girl, so
we actually used to have Asterix books in our school library, believe it or not. So
now I'm jealous. But yeah, so it's nice though to actually be able to read something that's, for the most part, and I will say for the most part, does hold up.
Yeah.
And it is just a nice little. It's becoming one of the sort of staples of my week to be able to just sit down and know I can spend an hour, which it never takes longer than an hour to read these. Just knowing that it gives my brain a bit of a break. And it's just nice to have something like that.
Well, and it's also as well the fact that us sitting down and reviewed it. The fact that these are quite light-hearted streams. That's generally what we're going for. It's occasionally we have to touch on something a bit more serious and not go into some, but generally it's more having a bit of fun with these, but also trying to actually look at some of the actual history. Where did they get things right? Where are they totally out to lunch on this? It's interesting.
Where are they? Obviously, you know, they know they're out to lunch and they're enjoying it.
Yeah,
as well. It's always a fun.
I mean, what we went through earlier today. I mean, this is what I said. Their depictions of Roman orgies, very far fetched, but also the way that Roman governorships worked. A lot of truth in that.
A lot of truth in it.
So it was definitely interesting to look at that. So right, what have we got to plug? Well, we've got Ring coming up.
We've got Ring's stream coming up at 3:00 UK time, so I think that's 10:00 EST. And then let's see what else is there. I'm going to be on there because we're doing Princess Bride Part 2 this week. So join us for that in half an hour. And anything you want to plug, Jeff?
I've got nothing. I'm not got a date. I should be. I am. I just need to sort out a date when I'll get round to it. I'm going to be at some point. I'm going to be getting Slim Living Cyborg onto my channel for a chat, so which I think is going to be quite interesting. But I don't have a date for that yet. Otherwise, be my channel for this stream next week, where we'll be doing Mansions of the Gods. So that's the only thing I've really got to plug, to be honest.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do, seeing as there's not much we've got to plug this week, I'm going to throw it open to the chat. If there's anyone in the chat wants to plug anything, now's your chance. We'll give you a minute to type stuff in if you want. Ring's already dropped the link to Medium Musings in there.
Yep.
Let's see. Who else have we got in the chat? We've got Jen in there. T and Danish. I do want to plug. I am getting really into Julie LaVoice's Wine and Reason.
Yeah.
She has got a lot of good things to say.
That's a good watch. That's a good watch, Julie's Wine and Reason streams.
Right. Let's have a look. Why is it not letting me give... Damn, I forgot not all of you have got spanners.
No.
Oh, just tell us what you want to plug and we will plug that for you on screen. So yeah, as always, hit like, subscribe, hit the bell button, leave us a comment. Always happy to engage. Let's see. So bit of Tea and Danish does their, sorry, I don't know what your pronouns are, their TMI show. So go check that out. If you click on Tea and Danish's name, should bring up an option to go to their profile, which should have their channel on there. And that's for everyone in the chat as well, if you don't know each other already, which I think most of you do.
Yeah. Well, so I would actually say go and subscribe to a bit of Tea and Danish. Linda's got a really good channel, actually. So,
well, don't get much higher praise than that. So, as always, you know, we're just we're here. We'll be here. We'll be over at Jeff's next week, doing Mansions of the Gods. So, looking forward to that. And if there's nothing else, I think we will sign off and give everyone half an hour to get ready for Medium Musings.
Yep. That'd be a good idea.
Tagline, Jeff?
I don't really have a tagline, so I'll just say see you later. Salute.
Take care, be good, and if you can't be good, as always, be careful.